Hey, what's up, metal and heavy music fans? It's Flight of Icarus again with MetalTrenches.com, and today I'm going to review the new track Ohms from Deftones, one of my favorite bands going way back, and let's talk about it. Yeah, longtime Deftones fan. Always like to listen to their new stuff, always evolving. Mad respect for them. I didn't really know what to make of this riff, first off. It's different. The more I thought about it, the more I was like, it sounds like something maybe from like their self-titled album, which I've got the shirt on for actually. Yeah, it's interesting. Like it doesn't quite like it sounds very Deftones and yet very different at the same time, and it's kind of uncanny almost. Yeah, it's I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it yet, but I am excited to think that they're working with Terry Date again on this album, who did their first 4 albums, which are still pretty much all my favorites. And, you know, I've come to grips with the fact that there's never going to be another White Pony, there's never going to be another Around the Fur. That season has kind of passed for these guys, and that's fine. I loved Koi no Yokan. Did not particularly like Gore very much at all. In fact, that's my least favorite from them so far, so I'm hoping it's more of the former than the latter. That little like eye symbol that's all over this video, and it's kind of like the cover for the single, reminds me of like the Cure cover. I think just the atmosphere of the song kind of gives me like Cure vibes in a weird way, which I guess is fitting because they actually covered a Cure song at one point. By the way, I did a Deftones ranking tier list of their albums too, if you want to check that out. Hear more of my thoughts on their background, but I'll focus, I promise I'll focus more in on this song right now. I also get, like, at certain points, kind of Quicksand vibes, which is also appropriate because they have the bassist from Quicksand now. Rest in peace, Chi. We will be forever missed. I like some of the cinematography in this video. It's kind of cool. Nothing particularly like shockingly new, but it's just kind of like a standard rock song. It almost feels like it should be a deeper cut. It's an interesting choice for a lead single, which scares me a little bit because that's how I felt going into Gore. I like when their first single is like a banger and then they follow it up with something a little bit softer. Like I remember when Rocket Skates dropped for Diamond Eyes, and that, you better believe that got me pumped. Guns, razors, knives. Yeah, this is just more like chill. Like I always call this kind of like beach music, very just like West Coast, hanging out, summer vibes. Which there's room for that kind of stuff. I really liked the latest Hopes Fall album, and I felt like a lot of that had a lot of those vibes too. The riff's a little repetitive though. Like I feel like there's a lot of kind of the same on this song. Could use a little bit more variation. I do like this part. Speaking of which, this was the part in particular that gave me like the Quicksand feels. Some of the cinematography in this part reminds me of like The Cell in a weird way too. But yeah, this is like my favorite part, which is kind of a bummer because we're like getting to the end here, and right when things start to get really interesting, it's over. Yeah, that's Deftones with Ohms, and I'm always excited to hear what these guys put out because I've also done like a new metal band tier list. And I like that one because it really makes you realize that out of all of those bands, Deftones are really the only one that have sort of transcended the genre and become something completely different. It sort of reminds me too of like how Enslaved is really the only like second wave black metal band to start in the early 90s and also become like a completely separate entity. And now there's actually some odd overlap between like Deftones sound and Enslaved sound if you think about it. But yeah, as for this track, it's okay. I wasn't like instantly gripped by it. I've listened to it a few times now, and I don't hate it. I like it better than most of the stuff on Gore, but it's not doing a whole lot for me yet. So I'm kind of like uh pushing on my expectations a little bit at this point, because I know if I raise my expectations too high for this band that I've loved for so long, I'm gonna be more disappointed. So gonna kind of hope for the best, but also plan for the worst. But I'm hoping Terry Date's got their back and they do something really cool with this one, and hopefully the next single will be on the heavier side. I know Steven really wanted to do some heavier stuff and was not exactly, maybe not happy is maybe not the best phrasing of it, but it seemed like he wanted to bust out. And I mean, he's got a 7-string guitar. He wants to use it. The man wants to do some heavier riffs, and he got to do a lot of them on Koi no Yokan, which I would put in like my top 3 probably Deftones albums, despite being a later one. So if I were to give this a rating, I'd say, I mean, if I'm kind of using my scales that I use in my video reviews for albums, it's like a 7 really for enjoyability. I don't know, it's like a 7 or 8 for musicianship, and I don't know, I guess I could give them an 8 for innovation, just because it does have that sort of different vibe to it. So all in all, kind of like right middle of the road, like a C plus feels pretty fair. It's a little bit above average, but as far as Deftones tracks go, I don't know if this is going to become one of my favorites. Maybe it'll surprise me over time. But let me know what you all think down in the comments, especially you Deftones fans out there. And of course, stick around because, like I said, I've got a Deftones tier list, I've got the new metal tier list, and then I've also got all sorts of album reviews. I tend to focus on more underground bands mainly, and that's sort of my focus. So if you want to be kept up to date with the best and brightest metal bands and albums from the underground and above, then plenty of reasons to hit that subscribe button. I've got hundreds of videos for you to check out at this point. Also in the description, you can find links to our social media, the email newsletter, metaltrenches.com, where you can find even more content, and our Patreon and Subscribe Star if you want to take that extra jump to becoming a supporter. But that'll do it for this one. Flight of Icarus signing off. I will see you in the trenches.